So, you know how I wish that year 2 would be better than the first for some of our cats? Well, oh boy, I might have jinxed it. Hello, welcome back to ClayClan, where no one is given a break. This is year 2 in a series, so please go and watch the first video if you haven't. Before we go over the cats proper, I want to show what my settings are in-game, since I forgot to do that in the first video and some of them are relevant this year. The full list should be on screen behind me, but I will go more in depth with the ones that had an effect as they come up. With the intro out of the way, let's go over our Star Clan cats, because we were not spared this year. 4 cats died on the same moon. The first victim was Carnation Leap. Up until her death, she had a pretty uneventful year, being made warrior on time and honored for her appreciation. She had valuable insight and became a great speaker. Carnation Leap had been worried over her sister due to a severe injury and spent most of her time with her in the medicine den. Now, as for her cause of death, she was murdered. In-game it said that the culprit made the death look accidental, but I'm saying that they pinned it on rogues. We've had a lot of run-ins with them this year and it fits better with some other events. So, a murder covered up by framing outsiders. I was taken so off guard by this, I didn't even know this was a possibility for the killer. I will be revealing who it was once we get to them. She's trying to make the most of it, and one of her statuses was how she is celebrating her sister's successes with her, and that's just way too precious. Poor Carnation Leap. The next deaths are not much better, since Bernard Belt and 2 of her patrol were killed by a gang of rogues. Due to her run-in with the monster last year, Bernard Pelt had to give up Turtlepaw's mentorship until she recovered. She did get better in the end with no complications, and as Turtlepaw was still an apprentice by then, she resumed her training. I think getting badly injured may have given Bernard Pelt some time to think things over, because she did reconcile with her apprentice and she no longer dislikes her. She was also slowly becoming friends with Rostrad, but that just ended in a big fight. She never did end up having romantic feelings for anyone, so I think she may have been on the Airways spectrum. Kind of sucks to confirm it post-mortem. On her as deputy, Bernard Belt was left stressed over not being able to do her job due to her injury, and on patrol she confessed that she felt like she was a bad deputy, which the patrol silently agree with, so that was awkward. Too bad she didn't have much time to improve, as 2 moons later, on a border patrol, she ran into a gang of rogues and, well, you know how that ended. It's possible that she engaged as revenge for Carnation Leap's death, and she is pissed to learn that the culprit was actually a clanmate. And I don't think she's too happy about her successor. I did mention Bernard Belt wasn't the only casualty of the rogue fight. Turtlepaw and Beetleflood were also with her. So was their brother, but he survived. Let's backtrack a little. Beetleflood and his brother were named warriors early in the year, with Beetleflood being honored for his spirit. In his ceremony text, it was mentioned that Palestar knew of his kind heart, but didn't know how that heart would serve in war. I guess we know now. Turtlepaw did recover from her broken bone, though it did leave a scar. Later on, she would get heat exhaustion, so she still spent a good while in the medicine den. Due to her mentor being out of commission, Splashflower took over her training for the time being, but they didn't have much success. On one instance, Turtlepaw was feeling very down about the fact that everyone else had already gotten their warrior names and she was still stuck as an apprentice. Splashflower was unable to console her and she cried out that she knew she would never become a warrior. I guess she was right. Her name would have been Turtledapple and I can't. That would have been perfect. I imagine there is a ceremony to grant dead apprentices their warrior names, but I don't see Turtlepaw accepting it. Maybe in the future, when the pain has faded. Her brothers had actually stuck along for some of her training sessions to encourage her. This was also the case for the border patrol, so I imagine she's not feeling too great about that. Beetleflood doesn't blame her. Now they're both worriedly watching over their still living brother. I just feel so bad for this family. Well, that was a downer. Luckily, I do have some happier news with the living cats. Like how Palestar and Small J got together. I'm still not 100% sure on my angle on the rules here, but Palestar doesn't seem to care. He still has his 9 lives and is proud of the clan for enduring everything that has come to pass. He's also been on top of befriending their neighbors and returned lost kids to their clan on 2 separate occasions. The two had a pretty alright start to the year, but Small J had a very intense vision of things to come. It must have been pretty grim as she ran back to camp to discuss it with Palestar. Unfortunately, whatever they came up with was not enough to fully avoid this year's tragedies. Palestar would have been warning the clan against engaging in fights, but Burned Belt was too hot-headed to listen after Carnation Leap's death. As for their relationship, it started sometime before everything, and Small J's kids were warming up to Palestar as a stepfather. It doesn't matter much now, but the only survivor of the litter has been relying on him a lot, so there's that. The couple have had some discussions about the kids, and I do think both of them want them, but those talks have turned into disagreements, and as I don't think Small J is ready, with Turtlepaw and Beetlefoot's deaths still so fresh. She was hit especially hard as she could do nothing to save any of them. Outside of that, she hasn't been doing too well as she dislocated a joint and got her leg stuck in a 2-leg trap, the latter of which is still plaguing her. She also isn't very happy with Palestar's choice of deputy, having quite a high dislike for the cat. Palestar himself is hoping that Burned Belt would approve of his choice, even though he himself does not care much for the cat. I have the setting on that allows the leader to choose the new deputy automatically. Out of the 7 warriors at the time, 5 had had apprentices, so the role could have gone to anyone. It went to Rostrot. I am a little confused by this choice, as Rostrot is not the oldest nor the most experienced cat, but I assume her faithfulness and general lack of distress won out. In addition, a patrol she was leading also had a rogue encounter, and they did not die, though one cat was severely injured. Still, she was able to evacuate everyone, and I think Palestar saw value in that. Her former apprentice Beetlefoot died, but they weren't all that close. Outside of that, she has had a great year. For example, she got together with Oddheather at the very start of the year. Here's a bonus picture of them positively melting into each other. Some of the less sympathetic cats were hacking up hairballs at how lovey-dovey they were with each other. Rostrot had left a kid for Oddheather to find in her nest, and they had generally wanted to spend time with each other. I would have loved to draw them together in the lineup, but Oddheather is currently busy in the nursery with their newborn kids. Yeah, they moved pretty fast. I'm fine with it because we don't have that many cats and I always keep mass extinction events on. Before becoming deputy, Rostrot, Oddheather and their apprentices stole some fresh kill from a fox. Also, she helped a new cat in the clan interpret a strange dream they had. She's had it pretty good. I hate to jinx it, but hopefully nothing comes in the way of that. She'll have a lot to juggle between being a new mom and deputy to a grieving clan. Moving on to our warriors, our eldest warrior is the 77-moon-old Chickpea, who is a former loner. She is a compassionate campkeeper with a keen eye, and she's trans. She joined halfway into the year by asking a passing patrol for permission. There isn't much to say about her, as she has been mostly keeping to herself, and the cats that she was closest to died in the rogue skirmish. She did catch white cough, but recovered quickly. I do think she is hiding something, however. The late Hollow Bumble had a status of how she knew Chickpea's secret, and she joined right between encounters with the rogues. It's possible she's lying about her past, and she has some history with the rogues, if not having been a part of them. She also had a strange dream, the one Rostrot helped interpret, and I'm going to leave that thread open in case something happens that could link to it. I don't think she's up to something nefarious. She does seem genuinely invested in the clan, no matter what her past end up being, but we'll have to wait until next year to see how she fares. Next up is Shellbramble, who has been doing fine. He found some juniper and decided to wear it, which, fine choice, it looks dashing. He actually hasn't done much of anything, with his most interesting moments coming from his reactions to others. He was pretty upset when Carnation Leap died since he mentored her, but overall Shellbramble has turned out to be a surprisingly jealous cat. He has had several statuses of being jealous of others for various reasons. like how shiny everyone else's fur is. He doesn't like Otha though, for starters, since she became mates with Rostrot, who he still has a crush on. And now there's some mixed feelings because I think he really believed himself the most capable for the deputy role. They are still friends, however, both having platonic love for each other. None of his dislikes for anyone are too high, so right now there is nothing to worry about. And he is compassionate, but having a positive trait doesn't always mean being a good cat. I'm just very unsure what to make of him. He has been mostly fading into the background due to not being all that connected to the drama, and I don't think he's happy about it. He is part of the friend group with Rostrot and Splashflower, but both of them have had their own stuff to deal with, the former being extremely busy with Debussy and her mate and kids, and the latter has been focused on supporting Weasel Whisker. So Shellbrumple's feeling a bit replaced, and I'm hoping he gets some friends in his age range, like Chickpea. Splashflower is next. As mentioned before, he took over Turtlepaw's training when Bernard Belt was out of commission. I don't think he was as ready for the job as he expected, and he was happy to hand her back over to the late deputy, as he could see he wasn't much help. He's feeling pretty bad about not being able to comfort her, but he's trying not to blame himself. Splashflower's broken back fully healed early on into the year, and he was happy to report no complications. Still, he lost a lot of time to healing and has had to turn to his old mentor to relearn what he has forgotten. He thinks very highly of Rostrot, Shellbramble, and Weasel Whisker, continuing to be besties with the last cat. The first three have developed into a solid friend group, with Weasel Whisker also joining every now and then, but he's primarily Splashflower's friend. Splashflower has also developed a little crush on the younger Tom, but he hasn't noticed. He also has another little crush on Shellbramble, and that one is reciprocated. You know my feelings on that from the last video, though Splashflower is nearing the age where I don't mind larger age gaps. He's been kind of down. Being loving, I imagine he's the kind of guy who's incapable of looking past others' sorrows and tries to be there for his friends. We are skipping over the new mom to talk about the single dad, Weasel Whisker. He's had a pretty bad time. First of all, one of his kids was killed, though he doesn't know the true culprit, and the other was on the verge of death. Also, he was very good friends with Bernard Pell, which did not help since he was already grieving over his daughter. In addition, his ghost side has let him see glimpses of his late clanmates visiting, which just hits him with new waves of grief once he realizes they're dead. Due to being out of commission for some time in the latter half of the year, Weasel Whisker hasn't done all that much. But before everything went down, Weasel Whisker was seen loitering around ClayClan's border looking for a specific cat. I actually have a theory on this. I hadn't looked at Fringepaw and Carnation Leap's biological parent before, but he does look awfully similar to Weasel Whisker. I think he may actually be related to them. So that's one candidate. Or it might have been something completely unrelated, like a crush, since she is capable of having them, like how he has a small crush on Shellbramble. Weasel Whisker thought the older Tom had a lovely sense of humor. Just why? Why is it always this man? I don't get it. Swift River, oh Swift River. Absolutely beautiful name, by the way. Swift River was named alongside his brother at 11 Moons and was honored for his insight. Weasel Whisker did a great job training him, influencing him to heed his inner compass and be slow to anger. He now has natural intuition. Swift River and Beetleflood could see how bad Turtlepaw was feeling about being left behind, so the two were extremely motivated to help her out once she got out of the medicine den. They stuck along on Turtlepaw's training sessions, where Bernard Pelt appreciated Beetleflood for lifting morale and Swift River to keep his siblings in line. They'd gone on several excursions together, which led the four being out on patrol and encountering the rogues. Swift River was forced to watch as his deputy and siblings were brutally murdered, all the while he could do nothing. I think he was left alive on purpose to send a message, and he now carries incredible survival skills. He had had a fight with Turtlepaw just earlier that day and he feels sick. He is also quite literally sick, having caught green cough near the end of the year. I swear to God, game, if you take this whole litter from me, I will riot. He has not been alone through his grief, thankfully, as Palestar has really stepped up as a father figure. He has comforted Sweet River after a nightmare and spent time with him in the medicine den telling stories. Small J has also been a constant presence even through her own grief, though they share the medicine den more out of necessity than want. He still has support and family here, though his grief may not allow him to see it. I want to talk about this group next, so let's move on to the nursery. Frostkid is a 5-moon-old bullying she-cat who is an avid play fighter. On the very last moon, her parent left her with ClayClan, stating they could no longer care for her. An important thing to mention is that that parent was a rogue. I've had a few theories on the rogue situation considering how often we run into them, but this makes me think the gang is falling apart. Why leave your kid in a clan that has been targeted, if not for thinking that the trouble it'll seize in the future? Or maybe they were a deadbeat, who knows? There's not much to say on Frostkid as she only just got here, but she has been generally troublesome, playing petty pranks, and she seems to like kids as she has taken a shine to Oddheather's litter. Next time you see her, she'll be a young warrior, assuming she doesn't die or something. Moving on to Oddheather, who has had a great year. She got together with Rostrot, who is now deputy, she's feeling really close to her clanmates, her apprentice graduated, she's a mom, and the cat she disliked the most is now dead. Yes, Oddheather murdered Carnation Leap. I was so shook by this, how could you do that? To reiterate, the clan has no idea about this, and unless they have an open dialogue with the rogues and realize they aren't responsible, I don't think they will find out. Oddheather has had no statuses that could be even close to remorseful, so no, I don't think she regrets it. I don't even have a good reason for this, aside from the fact that on the moon of the murder, Oddheather and Carnation Leap had a fight that led to her revealing something embarrassing. But that is no grounds for murder, so there must have been a longer resentment building. She was mentor to Fringepaw, Carnation Leap's sister, so she did have regular interactions with the victim. Regardless, Oddheather has never been happier and is happy to bury this incident in the past. I worry for her future, as she will not reach ClayClan if she doesn't repent, and I haven't seen a speck of guilt on this cat. As for her kids, they're newborns, so there's not much to say, but they are the shy Thorn Kid, attention-seeking Rye Kid, and sweet Antler Kid, all girls. I had the pregnancy ignores biology option toggled on, so Oddheather and Rostrot are their biological parents, but for in-world logic, let's just say that they had a surrogate that was related to Rostrot. I will not envy this family whenever they learn the truth about Oddheather, whether it will be in life or the afterlife. I have no clue how Rostrot would react. And lastly, our young elder. Fringemud retired the same moon she got her warrior name due to her injury. I have the option for disabled cats to possibly retire on, but I might toggle it since I'm still not too sure about it. I might also switch her back to a warrior if she expresses wanting to do so. I imagine she retired reluctantly and with the promise that she would get back to work soon enough, but that has not gone to plan. Let's back up a bit. Back when she was an apprentice, she was on a patrol with her mentor Rostrot and 2 others when they ran into a group of rogues. They were able to escape, but Fringemud was severely injured in the fight. Figures they attacked the one cat who couldn't fully defend herself. Just look at that scar, that blow was meant to kill. Her warrior ceremony was held the very next moon, so I imagine Palestar was worried over her survival and wanted to make sure she could pass on to StarClan with her full name. Luckily, she survived. Fringemud graduated at 12 moons old and was honored for her poise. Her mentor influenced her to behave more erratically and be slow to anger, and she is now righteous. She is a great hunter, and I imagine she does best with ambush hunting and fishing. She has also shown great skill in scenting. Also, Fringemud is not her originally generated name, because the game tried to name her Fringe Run. Seriously? There's no way Palestar would be mean enough for such a name. I chose the mud suffix since it sounded similar to run, and since her pelt pattern makes her look like she's covered in mud. Anyway, Fringe Mud would spend the following moons in the medicine den and was very close to death's door when her wound got infected. But as you can see, she survived with the scar to prove it. The experience was not kind to her psyche, and it was not helped by her sister's murder and the following deaths of her clanmates. Due to all of this, I am saying Fringe Mud has developed a deep fear of death and the world outside of camp, as all evil seems to come from beyond their borders. I can't imagine what it would do to her to learn that the true killer is her former mentor. She is now painfully aware of how others may take advantage of her disability, and she is very reluctant to leave camp. It also doesn't help that the leaf-bare ground was tough on her and that she fell into a river and now suffers from fodder in her lungs. She really does feel like the world is out to get her. I worry for this girl, I really do. There's no one she's that close to, having kept her distance from Weasel Whisker, and the one non-relative she was befriending was Turtlepaw. Please don't die, you're my favorite. I really don't know how to bookend this, so I'll just keep this outro short. I'm used to having to wait a few years before the drama starts. I was not prepared for this. I don't really have a plan for this series. I'm mostly thinking of continuing it until I reach a point that feels like a natural conclusion, or until all the clan founders are dead. We'll have to see. So in the future, we can look forward to the next generation growing up, hopefully resolving all of this rogue business and uncovering a killer. If you'd like to stay up to date with how these videos are coming along, I will be posting status updates on my channel's communities section, so consider subscribing. See you in the next video, bye!